Let's look at the last big category when we're looking at some of these so-called proofs of evolution. And that's the idea that built within our bodies are useless, functionless parts. They're called vestigial organs. Another name for them are junk. And you can think of a variety of different ones that you've heard, anything from wisdom teeth to appendix to tonsils, even junk DNA is the same kind of an argument. Let's look at these real briefly and see whether or not there is a function for these things after all. When we look at the whole idea of the appendix, we've known for the past 20 years or so in the Journal of the American Medical Association that there is a function for the appendix. It sits strategically between the small and large intestine, and it has lymphoid follicles, which is associated with our immune system. It produces antibodies against bad bacteria. And in our colon, we have a lot of bacteria, so it's good to keep things in check. It appears that the appendix is much more important when we're youngsters. When we get older, it doesn't seem to be as much of a deal. Some people say, well, the function for the appendix is for surgeons to take it out. But the reality is we do see a function for it when we're younger. What about wisdom teeth? Do they really have no function? Well, if we say it has no function, then we should not only take that out when it's time, but we should have all of our teeth pulled out. Because really the function for wisdom teeth is chewing. See, the problem here isn't the function. The problem is that oftentimes we don't have enough space for them to come in. And as a result, they come in impacted, they can become infected. It's just a problem that way. So we see that there is a function when it comes to the whole idea of wisdom teeth. What about tonsils? When I was a young little guy, I had chronic problems with them getting inflamed. And so one of the conventional ideas of the day was take these things out because there is no function associated with it. Well, guess what? Today, that's not the standard practice, is it? Today, we know that it's one of the first lines of defense against invisible pathogens, your bacteria and your viruses. So if it's not causing a big problem, you leave it in. So what we're finding is that these things do have a function after all. I kind of laughed when you look at the whole idea of these vestigial organs. Back in the late 1800s, Dr. Widersheim and his colleagues said we had about 180 useless parts. Today, there's less than even a handful that we don't know of a function of today. One of them, they said it didn't have any function, was the pituitary gland. Today, we know that that's the master gland of the body. Even the pineal gland, this little pea-sized little gland that's in the brain, basically helps with our wake-sleep cycle as well as the production of melatonin. So what we see is that these vestigial glands actually aren't vestigial after all. They are functional. There's several things to keep in mind with this argument of junk. Number one, there's no way that we can say scientifically something does not have a function. The best we can say is we don't know of a function yet. The only way that we could say that something doesn't have a function is if we have all knowledge. You know, when you think of all the information there is to know about this earth as well as this world, do you think we know 90% of everything that's out there? Not quite, right? 80%? 50%? 20%? The problem is we don't know how much we don't know. And so the best we can say, we just haven't found a function for this. Another thing to keep in mind is sometimes you hear the claim, because you can take that thing out of your body like the appendix, it has no function. Well, guess what? You can remove all sorts of organs out of your body and still live. Take your eyes out, take your fingers, your arms, your tongue, that kind of thing. That doesn't mean anything about function itself. The other thing, too, is this whole argument that this proves evolution doesn't even make a lot of sense. Because from the standpoint of evolution, evolution means that things are getting better, advancing, becoming progressively more refined, right? Is that what's happening with vestigial organs in their idea? Not at all. They're basically saying things are getting worse over time. It worked well for our ancestors, but it doesn't work for us today. So we see that this is an argument that doesn't hold any water. So when we're looking at the basic claims of evolution, the idea that change simply means evolution, or the idea that because something's similar in the present, that means a common ancestor, or that we simply can erect some type of a sequence, that's proof of evolution, or the idea of junk, all of them have real problems in terms of the evidence standing up to the claim itself.